This is the least productive work day of the entire year. That's what the stats say. We're here. I guess not. My show's only half as long as normal, so I'm joined at the party. 50% production here between the 2 and 4 hours today. But we'll have 100% production from our next guest, joining us as he always does at 2:30 on a Monday, brought to you by Apex and the 110 Grill in Destiny, USA. We bring in Adrian Autry. Red, welcome in. Good to see you on this Monday. And it is the day after the Super Bowl. How'd you spend your Super Bowl Sunday? How'd you take in the game last night?
Yeah, I watched it, just a little quiet evening with me and my wife. Watched from beginning to end, very exciting game, but it wouldn't be, no big event like we have now in sports, Super Bowls, finals, any type of event like that without a little bit of controversy, right? But I thought it was a great game.
Yeah, I mean, it was a high-level game is what I thought, right? Yeah, it does end, the penalty or not a penalty or whatever. What's your view on that as, an athlete, a competitor, when you see, not that it decided a game, but, it impacted the way the game ended when you see a flag like that or, a call in a basketball game late in the game?
From you always want to decide the game. You always want the referees to kind of decide the game and let the players decide the game. And even being a part of it bothers you that you feel like a call kind of changed the game and gave someone a momentum to win a game or to lose a game, and that bothers you. That bothers you as a player, and even that person that committed the foul or the flag or whatever. Depending on the sport you're in, that's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow. If they win straight up, no type of discrepancies, you can win that way, and you can take that loss a little bit better.
Yeah, and, after the game, James Bradbury was the guy that called the penalty on it. He's like, yeah, I had a hold of him. I was hoping they wouldn't call it, and they did. And the ref, Carl Cheffers, came out and said, that's a textbook hold and whatever. In your sport, Red, it kind of went the other way with the Duke and Virginia on Saturday, where just a weird ending to the game. Like, was there a foul? Is the game over? Like, watching it, you're like, what just happened? And then when the ACC comes out with a little letter after the game that yes, Duke should have gotten free throws. Here's the rule, and we consider the case closed. Stuff like that's going to happen every now and again. I imagine that if you're Duke this week has to be impossible to swallow, knowing that you should have had a chance to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you play the game and you've been around the game long enough, you've been in that situation before. And sometimes you come out on the other end, sometimes you don't. The good thing about it is I know they getting prepared to play the next game, and at this time of the season, that's all you can do. Win or lose, you got to get prepared for the next game. So, but definitely a hard pill to swallow when you're on the other end of the call.
Well, let me ask you this about it, not that specific play, Red, but if something like that happens in a game, would you rather get the letter that they screwed up or just have it ignored going forward? Do you want to hear after the fact that, oh, yeah, they screwed it up, but sorry, we can't do anything about it?
You know what? It really doesn't matter at that point. I mean, because, the record is the record, and that's the most important thing. So, we lose, and the letter is not going to make me feel any better. It's just not.
No. It's not going to help you in the win-loss column. It's just going to remind you about it later. It's a whole thing with that. But Red Autry is our guest, and you'll be seeing the team that came out on the wrong end of that coming up on Saturday in the Dome. Duke will be here. Your next opponent is NC State tomorrow night. We'll get into that. But no game this past weekend, so let's work backwards. So what have you guys done since Florida State and the win down in Tallahassee last week? How did you handle a little rest this weekend, or what'd you do with the guys since that last game?
I think we just focused on, getting better, working on things that we need to get better for, and then also preparing for, NC State, which is we play tomorrow, and just those are the things that we worked on, and really kind of wanted to get ourselves better, clean up some stuff, address some things on both sides of the ball, defensively and offensively, and then start to get prepared for NC State.
And let's go back to the Florida State win, which was last Wednesday, where it felt like stuff got addressed as that game went on. We know rebounding's been an issue all year, and you were down early in that game and getting crushed on the boards in the first half. The second half might have been the best rebounding half you guys have had all season. What went into a half like that, Red, to really win you that basketball game?
I thought on the defensive end, rebounding, I thought all 5 guys rebound. I think Joe had 7 rebounds. That's always big for us when our guards can get in there and help rebound. I thought everybody that stepped on the floor that played extensive minutes contributed in the rebounding department, and that was huge. And then offensively, we got going. I thought Judah really picked it up. Late in the game, once we got back, we climbed back in, and he got going, getting to the basket. And I thought Jesse made some big finishes, and not easy finishes. I mean, that finish that lob that he caught, backwards and dunked it. That was a big time finish. And I thought Joe made some really big plays and shots, and Chris got a big rebound and put back, and I thought he gave us 6 rebounds. So I mean, it makes sense. I just thought everybody really in the second half contributed on the rebounding end, and that's what we need.
No, what about Chris Red and Chris Bell? Early in the season, like it was it was a joke at some point. Like he couldn't get a rebound. Like literally, he was going games without getting a rebound. Now he wasn't hitting his shot last game, but coach kept him in the game. It feels like that is rebounding, effort on defense, all that stuff. It feels like he's starting to at least get a grasp of what that is at this level.
Yeah, I mean, Coach, we talked about it the other day in practice. You guys are now sophomores. You played enough games. You're moving into your sophomore year, so that experience is rubbing off. They understand what it takes, and when you get, and the good thing about that is when you get 6 or 7 rebounds. I think he had 6, and you come out with the win, and you didn't shoot well. But you played well. He had a good floor game where he was active and he rebounded, and then he got to the basket, got to the free throw line. He got an offensive rebound as well and putback, which was big. Those are the things that they start to understand that it's more than just shooting. It's just more than just scoring. I think all teams kind of that's the fight for all teams. Trying to get them to contribute on the defensive end, and it's good to be able to do that and get away with and come away with a win.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds dumb to say, but the guy who's known as a three-point shooter, he was 1 of 9 from 3. I thought I don't know about you, Red. I thought it was the best game he played all season, which sounds crazy, and that he couldn't hit a shot. But you look at that other stuff, it felt like it contributed more to winning than sometimes his shooting does.
I agree with you, Brian. I mean, he took some good shots. A couple of them went in and out, but overall, he rebounded the ball. He was active. He kept people in front of him. He got his hands, deflections. He ran the floor. All the little things that don't show up, on the stats, and he did that, and I think that was big for him.
Yeah, and you're going to figure the shots are going to go in more often than not. That's been proven up till this point, and if you can do the other stuff, that turns into a pretty good player down the stretch here. Red Autry is our guest. We know, though, it's good to have Chris going. We know who your main 3 guys are on offense. It's Joe, Judah, and Jesse. And, it feels like they've almost traded off at various points, and one guy's cooking, and then maybe it's the next. And now the last 2 games, they've combined for 60 in the last 2 games each, which is the highest total of the season. Is it starting to come together with, those guys being able to figure out, okay, when's my time? When's my time of how they're playing off each other this year?
I think so. I think they're starting to mesh and gel and play well, all together at the same time. Even when we went through that stretch, maybe one played well, 2 others didn't. Maybe 2 played well, 1 didn't. I think in his last couple of games, especially on the road, I think all 3 kind of gel together and have big moments, and that's what we need. We need all 3 of those guys playing well, and I think they are right now. And I think they understand how to get each other involved and how to play off of each other now.
And, it takes a while, right? Joe is a veteran. Jesse missed the back half of last season, and obviously Judah is a freshman. And I think a lot of it's right on Judah figuring out, okay, when to go and when not to go. How have you noticed him kind of getting a grasp on it? It felt like his last, 10 minutes, 8 minutes of the game last Wednesday, he had a great sense of, how hard to push the accelerator down.
Yeah, I think Judah's doing a really good job of finishing games, and I think Joe is kind of filled in that role as well. They just really playing well off each other. But I thought Judah really made some good decisions down the stretch, not only at the Florida State game, but at the end of the Boston College game as well. So the last 2 games, he's really finished well and made some good decisions late in the game.
Red Autry with us, as he is every Monday at 2:30, brought to you by Apex and the 110 Grill, both which can be found in Destiny, USA. Red, tomorrow night, NC State. We know how good Terquavion Smith is. This guy can play with anybody in the league. He can score with anybody in the country, pretty much. But you're not 20-6, right, if it's just one guy. How is the rest of the team, I guess, working around Terquavion to do what NC State has accomplished so far this year?
I mean, they have every answer that you want to be a good team, and obviously, hence the record. They got inside playing DJ Burns, who's a load down there, skilled guy, one of the most skilled guys down there. Great touch around the basket. And then you got Casey Morsel, who's probably leading the league in three-point shooting percentage in the last 4 or 5 games. He's shooting lights out along with Terquavion Smith, and Markel Joyner, he just came off a big game, hit 5 threes, but he's been leading them the whole year, and he has that veteran leadership. So they got a good veteran team. They got good pieces. Perimeter play, inside play, good defense. They get after you. They make you play fast. They push the tempo. So they can just score in a lot of different ways.
They got 4, and you mentioned the guys, Burns, Morsell, Joyner, and Terquavion. They're all averaging at least 12 a game. And Jarkel Joyner, we talk about Smith, he's averaging 16 a game, so he's not that far behind Smith. But on Terquavion Smith, what makes him special, Red? What stands out about his game?
I mean, as soon as he steps in the gym, he's in range, man. He can make them. But he's really the thing about him is last year he really scored, but this year he's added playmaking. So along with his 18 points, he's averaging about 4 or 5 assists. So he's getting his teammates involved, and I think that's the biggest improvement in his game, that he's getting these other guys and making the other guys, with all the attention that he receives, he's making it easier for those guys, and he's making teams pay with all the attention that he's had. So he's really took big strides. He can score. He can score all 3 levels. He can get out in transition. He can finish in the mid-range. Obviously, he can shoot from 3-point range and deep too, and he gets it up quick. He's just a load to handle.
And last thing for you, Red, and I know you guys are focused on tomorrow night at NC State, but you'll be playing Duke as well before we next chat next Monday. I know you've seen him a little bit this season. What do you make of this Duke team? It was always going to be kind of weird, right? First year post Coach K. How have they handled things down there in Durham this year?
I think they're doing a good job. Talented team, very young, depending on a lot of freshmen. Kind of, like we don't depend on as many freshmen as they do, but young team. They have talent. They just went down to Virginia and played those guys to overtime, and as we know, Virginia's a tough place to play. And so again, very talented team, young. They're getting better. They'll be a handful as well.
All right, we'll look forward to those games. Again, it will be tomorrow night at 7 o'clock against NC State, then 6 o'clock on Saturday evening against Duke. Looking forward to both of those games this week. Red, thanks as always, and we'll recap them next Monday when you're back here, okay?
Thanks, Brian. Have a good week.
You too. That is Red Autry, and a good week for the Orange would get them in the mix to start thinking about being in the mix. So we look forward to that with the 2 potential big-time wins this week. Looking at net rankings, we love to look at the net rankings. NC State is currently 36th in the net rankings, Duke 31, so they are both kind of right on that borderline in home games to be a quad 1 and or quad 2 wins. If they are wins for the Orange. So a huge opportunity this week for Syracuse with Duke and NC State. Wolfpack coming up tomorrow. Thanks as always to Red, who joins us on Monday. Is brought to you by Apex and the 110 Grill, both of them in Destiny, USA. Take our final break here. Our final wrap when we come back. How'd that happen so fast? The show just started. Just 1 hour today. Apologies. We'll be back, though, tomorrow. 2 hours tomorrow, and the rest of the week. We'll be here, same bat time, same bat place for the normal amount of bat time coming up for the rest of the week. But we'll come back with our final wrap here for the day and get you ready for the rest of the week. After this, it is QSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio.